This is Tolu Welcome to my channel, and this is Cooking with Tolu, hashtag Tolu Cooks. You're welcome. Let the fun begin. Hello everyone, this is Tolu Cooks. Tonight we're gonna be making a staple, which is akara. A lot of people does not understand what akara is, so I'm gonna explain. Akara is when you have your beans puree and you fry it. So where I come from, at the side of the street, there is an akara seller that sells this lovely akara. When you're going home in the night, you just buy it and you want to put it in the middle of your bread and have it, and we call it burger. That is where our own burger actually originated from. But some people like to use their akara with pap, custard, bread, or just snack on it and eat it by itself. Some people can have akara for breakfast. You can actually have it for a midday snack if you want to, and you can also have akara for dinner. So let me show you the ingredients I'll be using for my akara. Akara is not difficult to make. People run away from making akara for two reasons. Because they feel like it's so stressful, one, or they feel like it's not going to turn out well. So we're going to try and make it simple, not too much to eat, but we're going to make a very delicious akara. Now, we have black eyed peas. I'm going to be using 3 cups. 1 cup is 8 ounces. I'm using the American measuring system. So 3 cups of black eyed pea. We have our balls of onions. I'm going to blend one into my batter. We have the bell pepper. I'm just using 1 medium-sized bell pepper. I have eggs. I like to put in my eggs. It makes it fluffy and it makes it rise. I'm going to use Habanero pepper, which is also called atarodo where I come from. Some people call it the Scotch pepper, but this is Habanero pepper. Then I'm going to use our good old Maggi bouillon. This is chicken bouillon, so we're going to put some Maggi. Some people make their akara without Maggi. I love Maggi in my own akara. And to taste, of course, we're going to put some salt. So, and we have oil for us to fry the akara. I like to use olive oil. Sometimes I will use like avocado oil. It's a little bit more expensive, so I go to olive oil to keep it healthy. Okay, the first thing is we're gonna get our blender, put the beans in and crush it up. It makes it easier to peel. When you crush up the beans, the skin, when you soak it for like 5 minutes, the skin of the beans comes out easily. But before I do that, I love to put fish in my akara. You don't have to. This is very optional, but this is just me. So before I start doing all that, I'm gonna take out fish, I'm gonna bake it, so that way I can put it in my akara batter when I'm about to fry it. So I'm gonna bake this fish on 400. If you like to put fish in yours, you can do this, let it start baking while you do the rest of your stuff. So by the time you want to add it in, your fish is ready. Beans, do not put water in the beans. Take your beans and put it in your blender. And on a medium speed and crush for about 30 seconds. We have that. We're gonna take that and put it in our bowl. When you put your water in, you want the water to cover. Do not use cold water, do not use hot water, because when you use hot water, you're gonna cook your beans. So you want to use a lukewarm water, just your regular ordinary water. If you look at this, your beans is all soaked in the water, and we're gonna let that sit for 5 minutes. In case you just want to make sure you don't oversoak your beans. One thing some people get wrong with making akara is they oversoak their beans, and when you oversoak your beans, it swells up and the skin becomes very difficult for it to come off. So take your timer, set it up to 5 minutes. So while we're waiting for our beans to soak up for 5 minutes, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut up my peppers. Please always remember to take the sticker off. Have cooked with someone before that forgot to take this off and they blend it into their pepper before they remember. So if you do not like a lot of onions, you don't have to put as much onions in your own beans when you're trying to curate. And some people do not like to put the bell pepper because they like to see the inside of their akara white. So if you like to see the inside of your akara white, you can skip the bell pepper. But the reason why I still like to put bell pepper in mine is it gives it a flavor, especially when your peppers are fresh. And we have our habanero pepper. So normally some people will blend this in, but I like to dice mine because I want to have the options of putting it in some and not putting it in some other ones. If you look at it and you look at the water, you can see the skin is already coming out, and your beans actually looks like it has doubled in size from when you put it in the water. And the easiest way for me to kind of peel my beans is when I have it in the palm of my hands, I rub it together. Like you're trying to wash your clothes, but not scrubbing, rubbing together. When you rub together, it lets the skin comes out easier. So I'm gonna do that. The whole washing process should take me about 10 minutes. So I'll see you soon. We've been peeling the beans and trying to make it as clean as we can get it to. So what I do is I rub my two hands together with my beans in the palm of my hand. When I rub it together, I try to ruffle up the waters so I can get the skin to come up. Then I put it in my sieve to get the dirty part of it out. You have to continue repeating the process. You're gonna rub it a little bit and take out the... If you look at it, my beans is almost clean. But long time ago, not too long, let's say about a few years ago, I have an habit of trying to get my beans 100% skin free. I can be at the sink for like 2-3 hours trying to peel the beans because I do not like to see that little extra skin sticking out. But I want you to know a little bit of skin left in it is okay. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to get every single black eye of the black eyed pea out. You're still gonna have some left in it. All you just wanna do is you wanna get your beans as close to 90 to 95% clean to make sure you don't have all that skin messing up your batter when you blend it up. So if you can see here, I still have some in there, but my beans is almost fully clean. So I'm still gonna rinse it out like twice. I'm gonna put the cold water, not freezing water. I'm gonna put the cold water to let all the skin come up. When you see some of the skins as it's coming up, rub your hands on them to get them loose from the beans. When you rub your hands to get them loose from the beans, mix it together to make sure you get them up, and there you go, receive it out. So I'm gonna do it one more time. Let me show you how much of the skin I've been able to get out. Can you see that? In comparison to where I started from. So we got it about 90 to 95% clean. I'm gonna do it one more time just to make sure that I get it as clean as I can get it. Then we're gonna go next to the blender. If it's not a lot and it's just annoying you, you can try and pick 1 or 2 out. But I will tell you, there's nothing you can do that you're gonna get 100% of the skin out. So when you get your beans to this level, you might as well just leave it and let's move to the blender. And I'll tell you the reason why I did not just turn my bowl into the blender. The reason is simple. if I take it and just turn it down into the blender, if there is some grain of sand that I missed or something, I would have turned that in. So I'd rather just scoop them out to make sure I have whatever remnant is on the bottom of the bowl and I can toss it out. At this point, I get my spatula. I get my spatula out. I open up the beans and I use the spatula to make sure that my ingredients are going down. I can see that my texture is too thick, so I put a little bit more water, about another half cup of water. I cover it up and I go on to it. Now that I know the peppers have gone down, I want to push it down in the blender to make sure. If you look at this is not smooth. So I'm gonna let it blend a little bit more, and I'm gonna go on blend so it can blend well. You wanna check the texture of your beans. It's still not smooth. So we're gonna let it blend a little bit more. Some people's blender, you have to know the power of your blender, because some people's blender cannot go on for a long time. I can leave my blender and let it blend for the next 5 minutes and it's perfectly alright. But some people's blender, if you do that, you're gonna boil the coil of your blender. So depending on the kind of equipment you have, read the instructions and the owner manual before you start running your equipment. Know that you don't want your akara to be very spicy. Do not put too much habanero, or make sure, then be careful. When you're cutting up your habanero, if your skin is soft and sensitive, put on some gloves. Mine is hardcore. I use my hand to take off stuff from the stove all the time. People ask me, am I not gonna use something to hold it? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm not telling you to do that, I'm just telling you. So please make sure you cut your onions first before you go to your habanero pepper. Because if you're not trying to give everybody that spiciness, you don't want to transfer the hotness into your meals. Okay, now that we've taken our fish out of the oven and we've deboned it, this is not moi moi. We're gonna treat moi moi another time. So I'm not gonna dump the fish into the beans batter, because some people might like theirs with fish and some people might not. So when I'm frying it, I'm gonna put the fish individually, especially because when I make mine, I like to load it up with fish. So if I put it in the batter, I'll be looking for the fish. So now we have the pureed beans. We wanna mix it, and that is the key to your akara. You have to be ready to do the handwork at this point. You want to make sure you mix your beans real good, and this is the time we also put our seasoning in it. I do not put in my eggs immediately until when I've mixed it for as long as I want to. Usually when my father, may God rest his soul, was alive and you want to make him akara, one of the things he's going to tell you to do is to mix that akara until your hands wants to fall out. There is a reason why we have cake mixer. If I have to do that kind of mixing this day and time, I would dump the batter in a cake mixer in a heartbeat. But I want to mix it until it starts kind of like coming up. You want it to rise a little bit, because when you mix it real good and it rises up a little bit, it tells you that your beans or your akara is going to be fluffy. Your beans cake is going to be fluffy. So you're going to have to mix it well. Don't be lazy with your mixing. So let's say you're gonna have to mix it on and off for about 5 minutes. So kind of get it all fluffed up. Now, I was supposed to cut up a whole bowl of onions, but I decided to do half because my eyes was tearing up, number one, and number two, I was able to get half cup of onions diced up. So that's more than enough. This is the whole, I'm only doing 3 cups of beans, and I've already blended a whole one in the batter when I was blending. So this half cup diced well is good enough. So I'm gonna put that in. I have my little spoon. And put that in. Then normally this is the time you also put in your habanero. If you put in your habanero at this time, that means you're trying to make everything with habanero. But in my home situation, I'm gonna fry some before I put in the habanero because I want to make some without the pepper, and I also want to make some that has the hotness to it. Okay? So at this point, I want to put in my chicken bouillon, which is the Maggi, and I'm using, this is half teaspoon. So I'm gonna put in at least about 2 of it to start. And I'm gonna put in 1 of it in salt. And you're gonna keep mixing. You know, when I was growing up, I wonder how those women on the side of the street fry akara every single night without getting tired. Every night. And they don't just fry this little thing that I'm frying right now. They fry like big batters that can feed about 200, 300 people each night. And that is what they do for a living. Even there was a woman that was down the street in my hometown, Elisha, that used to fry akara. And this woman, can you believe that she built a house out of frying akara? She fried the akara to the point that she built a little shop that she will fry the akara in front of. Then she started selling a kotutu, which is when you have your akamu, ogi, pap, and you make it into how can I explain it? You make it into like a fufu kind of texture, and it's wrapped up in leaf. So she asked somebody that I think Supply has the echo, so she will sell echo and akara. Then she started collecting distribution of bread, and she will sell bread with her akara. So people will go there when they are going home from work because they don't want to go home and go and have to start cooking again. So they will stop by and they will buy the akara to go with bread, or they will buy the akara to go with echo, or some people will just buy the akara. By the time you're driving home or you're walking home, you're about to finish the whole akara because the akara was just so yummy. Okay, so, and some people actually do it with gari. I heard my mom say it with gari, and that's actually my favorite. I cannot do without having akara and gari. Even my kids love akara and gari. Once I tell them I'm making akara, they'll say, "Mommy, can we have some gari with sugar and peanuts?" Well, North American peanuts, granuts to be precise. So I've mixed this. Then I'm gonna try and taste it. So at this point, it needs a little bit more Maggi. So I'm gonna do 1 more spoon. Remember, it's half teaspoon. And 1 more of the salt. At this point, I'm gonna put in 2 eggs. On the kind of frying pan you're using, I like to use one that is a little bit deep, and I want to make sure that I put my oil almost halfway through the frying pan, because one key to akara is you cannot fry akara like you're frying plantain. It's gonna be too little oil, so you want to make sure you have enough oil in your pan so that your akara can go in and has room to come back up. So just a little bit more oil. So if you ask me, I will say roughly maybe about 3 cups. I'm using olive oil, and when you finish frying your akara, don't throw away the oil. You can always reuse the oil to cook either your stew, to fry fish, to fry plantain, or do other stuff with the oil. So I'm gonna turn on my stove. I'm gonna actually turn it on high, not high, a little bit between medium and high for the oil to heat up. Then I'm going to reduce the temperature of the oil to medium because I do not want when I put in my batter it start burning immediately. So we're gonna try out to see if our oil is hot. We're gonna drop one and it should come right back up. There we go, and we can see that it's sizzling all around it. Once we accomplish that, we want to reduce the temperature because we do not want it to burn. And to be honest with you, by the time I finish frying this akara should be more than enough for at least about 5 to 6 people to eat, with each person getting about 6 to 8 akara a piece. And you can decide to use your own akara with either bread to make it the local burger, or you can use it with ekotutu or akamu that you can drink. Some people can actually use oatmeal or custard, or you can decide to use it with our all famous gari with sugar, peanuts, granuts, and however you like your gari to come. So if you look in here, you can see that the akara is frying well. You don't want to, the reason why you had to reduce the heat when you're frying your akara is you just don't want the akara to look beautiful on the outside and on the inside it's not done. You want to make sure that the akara is actually done on the inside and also the outside of it looks golden. You don't want it burnt. But some people always say they want their akara to be dry, so they leave it on the burner longer so it gives them that golden brown kind of look. So when we take this akara and we break it open, you see that? You want to make sure that the inside of your akara is actually done and it's not, it doesn't have like soft, you don't want it to look kind of like a raw batter in the middle. You want it actually really done. Then you know, yes, your akara is done and it's ready to eat. So if you look at my akara right now, you should see that my akara actually looks light gold. It's not dark brown. This looks light gold. This is good. This is done. I'm gonna take this out so that I can start frying the next batch. When you're taking your akara off, make sure you use a spoon that is slotted so that way you're not scooping up the oil. So this is the last batch of our akara frying. If you can see, in my frying pan, it's not so tightly together. I do not want them to be tight together. I have space to turn them and to move them around in the pan. In this size of pan, I have about, let's say, about 10 akara frying with the small sizes that I made. Then, if you look at it, on some of it, you can see one side is more darker than the other. So I'm just turning it to make sure that I get all the sides evenly browned. And at this point, my akara is actually done inside out. I fry most of it on medium. When I feel like the oil is getting way too cold, I turn up the heat a little bit just to kind of give it that warmth to jumpstart the cooking process. If you let your oil to be too cold, your akara, your beans batter is gonna suck up the whole oil. It's gonna practically drink it. So the minute you break your akara apart, you're gonna see a lot of oil coming out of it. So you just want the temperature to be just right. You wanna have that bubbling going on in it while you're frying. If your oil is not bubbling the way this is bubbling, your oil is too cold. And if your akara, when you put it in, when you put the beans batter into the oil and it kind of gets brown within the first minute, that tells you your oil is too hot. So you need to reduce the temperature of the oil so that you can get it just right. So this is done. 3 cups of beans. This is what we came up with. This is the one with the habanero pepper, and this is the one without the habanero pepper. So this is the quantity we were able to get out of the 3 cups of Blackeye beans. I hope you're gonna try my recipe and let me know what you like to use your akara to go with. Is it the agege bread, which is like the sweet Italian bread over here? Or is it the akamo, the ogi, the pap, the cocoa? Is it with custard? Is it with gari? Or is it with oatmeal? Even your cereal. Give me some comments and let me know what you like to use your akara to go with best. I will see you later. Thank you for watching Tolu Cooks.